It was on a gloomy morning in May that I looked upon my maths test and I was astonished. Not because it was extremely good nor bad, but because for a particular exercise I got a 1 out of 5. And I know that's not extraordinary, but this was. My answer to that question was completely correct. But the method of working I used wasn't the same one as we saw in class, and this apparently wasn't acceptable. So okay, school had already taught me to find that one right answer, and now it was teaching me that I also had to use the very right way to find it. Well, it was also on that morning that I realized that it was time for education to try another track. And that's why I'm here today. I'm here because I strongly believe that schools can nurture knowledge without killing one's creativity. More than that, I believe that schools can nurture knowledge and stimulate creativity. Because a true Einstein brain is one that is as imaginative as it is scientific. Unfortunately, stimulating creativity is not really what's happening right now. Because right now, we're still clinging on to this 19th century model of education, a model that is primarily based on reproducing facts. My Dutch class is a textbook example of this. Right now, we're fighting a 200 pages long theoretical syllabus about theater since the antiquity. And it's about as interesting as it sounds, actually. But I know that every lesson, at least one person is thinking, dear God, how am I going to study all of this? Et voilà. We're studying things because we will be tested on it. And from that point on, there are only two options left, passing or failing. And obviously, most of us students want to pass, so we do what we're expected to. We study the right answers, we study the right methods of working, and that's it. After all, if the point is to get an A, your odds are better if you avoid taking intellectual risks. But so much for the past. As we are the future, I ask myself if our current education system is still up to standards, as this planet has gone through major changes the past 20 years. Think with me. Children who start school now will be graduating in 2030. But yet, the greatest experts on that field have no idea what the world will look like in 5 years' time. And yet, we're educating people for it. More than that, we're doing it with an outdated system. So the way I see it, challenges are huge for education of today and tomorrow. Think of communication, collaboration, cultural awareness, and most importantly, creativity. And I'm not thinking about art, music, or poetry here. Being creative to me is being able to take a step back from existing ideas, or try to combine them in a different way. It's about seeing relationships, recognizing patterns, but most of all, it's about daring to take that risk and not being afraid to fail. This great businessman, Bill Murphy was his name, he once said that he who isn't prepared to fail won't invent anything. So how can we expect youngsters to tackle new challenges in an environment where failing is the worst possible thing to do? Well, we need to nurture knowledge and stimulate creativity, because we need that last one to bring new and valuable ideas into the world. Okay, so how to make knowledge and creativity one? Because this seems like a bit of a problem, right? Well, first of all, a step in the right direction would be to stop stigmatizing mistakes, and where possible, to show the student that his incorrect answer might have merit in somewhat other circumstances. Instead of just deciding that my method was wrong, my teacher could have at least looked at it, eager to discover something new. Secondly, I want to ask our students, our parents, all teachers here to focus less on the pure grades and statistics, but rather on the person behind them and his or her personal motivation. I don't believe that a mark can represent one's full individual abilities. And that's what I would opt for: personal feedback. And finally, I would alter the curriculum to only broad guidelines, so that teachers, and consequently students, are given space to be passionate, engaged, and hopefully creative. So my dream could come true. A dream in which youngsters will once sit in a classroom that is as dynamic as the world around them and allows them to discover their real Einstein brains. Thank you all for listening. Are there any questions?
Margot?
Yes?
I was wondering, where would you start this process of making education broader for people creative?
Excuse me?
Where would you start the process? So in
Where?
primary school, secondary school?
I would focus on secondary school by, first of all, broadening the curriculum, because what I mostly want to do is to create space, because being creative and interactive, it costs a lot of time for teachers. So I would start with the curriculum of secondary school to broaden that, create that space, and from then onwards, go deeper into my idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What about young adults who have just left school and as thus will not enjoy your new school system? Are they lost in terms of creativity?
No, they're certainly not lost, because everyone can be creative. The fact that some people are born more creative than others, does not exclude the fact that creativity is something you can learn. As I said, it's about recognizing patterns and relationships and daring. So I think if their personality is strong enough and they want to feel this creativity, they could succeed just as the rest in my educational system. Thank you.
What do you think about punishment and reward, and would you use it in your educational system?
That's a very good question. I think there are two kinds of mistakes. Mistakes that are made in school, just like not knowing a date of a certain president, and criminal faults. So murdering somebody should be punished. Let's make that clear. But in school, I think punishing somebody for making a mistake is not the way to go. When you had a bad day and you fail your test, that is a punishment for you. So I would work with this credit, non-credit system, as I explained previously, where students are given credit when they do their best, so they can pick an interesting subject, and when they fail, they're not given credit, and they have to do the basic knowledge test again. Thank you.
Thank you, Margot. I was wondering, if I told you that our current educational system of putting sciences, languages, and mathematics on top was based on the Industrial Revolution and the need for those subjects at that time, do you think that is still relevant today?
Excuse me, do you think that?
That is still relevant today?
No, that is not relevant today, and that is exactly my point. So many jobs existing today, like social media manager or elderly coordinator, they didn't exist 20 years ago. So the system is outdated, as I said. It's based on a 19th century model that is the Industrial Revolution. And now a problem we have to cope with more and more is something like artificial intelligence. That is, the more we're going to use computers, the more we will have to be creative. And I think focusing on that human aspect in this century is more important than on the pure knowledge, like in the Industrial Revolution. Thank you.
We are constantly being tested in subjects.
Mm-hmm.
Is this necessary, and why?
Well, I think in a certain view it is necessary, because what I'm trying to say is that we need knowledge in order to be creative with it. So we need a basic knowledge. And of course, we'll never know if we not get tested, but I think the idea of a test doesn't give us so much stress as the fact that we will be judged on it. Like, if somebody comes up to me right now and say, you have a mathematics exam on Monday, I will be freaking out. And if they afterwards said, but it doesn't count, I'll be like, oh, okay, it doesn't count. So I think by changing the grading system, the tests would give less pressure, and that allows us to be more creative. So, thank you.
Margot, I was wondering,
Yeah?
today one of the topics is storytelling. Can
Mm-hmm.
it teach as well as entertain? How does that fit into your new program for education?
Well, I think storytelling is very important because, as some candidates will say, it causes you to remember. And I'd rather sit in a lesson where my history teacher, goes through the French Revolution as if he was part of it, as if he lived it and was there, because that will make me remember. And then again, nowadays, that is often not possible because of the shortage of time. There are certain objectives to reach. So by broadening that curriculum, I would also like to have lots of stories. That's true. Thank you.